Welcome to White House Fruit Farm. I'm here with David, our resident farmer, and today we wanted to share with you this tree that has come in that has bare roots. What does that mean?
Well, this is the kind of tree an orchardist would plant. This is an apple tree, and it's not in a pot. It doesn't have soil around its roots. So an orchardist would get trees like this, many of them, and they're less expensive than a potted tree, and they'll do just as well.
So why does this not have soil around it? Is this not dangerous for the roots to be exposed like this?
Well, we would not let the roots dry out before we planted it. But this tree was actually grown in the last 2 years in a nursery. It was dug last fall, say in November, kept in a cold storage over the winter time to keep the tree dormant, with some rooting matter around the roots to keep them moist. But what's important is that this tree is in a dormant state right now. We can see that there are no leaves on these branches.
So this one is dormant as opposed to this one, same time of year, that's starting to leaf out nicely.
And that's important because with a dormant tree that's been kept in a storage, this tree has several weeks after it's planted for the roots to begin to function before the tree itself calls for water and calls for support.
So we're going to establish this root system first before the tree is stressed to do anything else.
Yes.
And this is an average, a healthy amount of roots?
Yes, that's a nice amount of roots. What's also interesting about this tree is the graft union, which is this knot that we see. And this is the union between the variety, this variety happens to be plum delicious, and the rootstock.
So stop there. Where'd the rootstock come from? And how did it end up with a variety?
Right. Well, the rootstock was grown as a tree by itself 2 years ago, and the rootstock is telling the tree above how big to get, how productive to be. And so it's nice to have those directions coming from the rootstock to influence the kind of apple that's on top of the rootstock. And the marriage between those two, the joint between those two, is this graft union.
So what did it have before? Like,
Well,
what is this?
right. The original rootstock tree was actually a tree, and then the variety was inserted into the side of the rootstock, and then when the variety started to grow, the rootstock tree was cut off at this point. And that's why we see this crook, or where the variety comes out from an angle from the original rootstock tree.
And this is a common practice?
This is the practice in commercial orchards. When we plant this tree, we want the soil level to be below the graft union. That way the influence of the rootstock stays in place.
Interesting. Lots to learn here on the farm, folks. Come on out. We'll see you on the farm.